Hello and welcome to the MSMP, a whitelisted server. So since we've taken over the world, we've decided to split into two nations. And if you go 20,000 blocks this way, you'll enter out of an nether portal. And you will be enlisted into one of the two nations. Follow me as we head over to Fremvilla. Fremvilla is the first nation. Their leader, Aiden Diamondlord, or Fizzy, as he is often called, will be leading the charge to attack against the opposing nation, the Badlands. As you enter the world, you'll be enlisted into one of the two nations, and you will be forced to build a road to your own cities. And so different cities will have different tiers. The capital city of both nations will be tier 0. They cannot be raided and are neutral and safe zones for both nations. That is where most of the trading will take place. Every single player will begin with one city that is tier 1, one city that's tier 2, one city that's tier 3, one city that's tier 4, and one city that's tier 5. The different cities will have different sizes to mark out which tier city it is. And there's a maximum as to how many of each city you're allowed to have. As each tier denotes, the tier 1 city you're allowed to only have one of, the tier 2 city you're allowed to have two of, tier 3 city you're allowed to have three, so on and so forth. However, at the very beginning, you'll only be allowed to own your one and whatever you're able to conquer on the other side. For any area that you raid, you will have free reign as to how many you're allowed to have. For example, if you take over 5 tier 4s, you're allowed to own all 5 tier 4s on the other nation. The restriction as to how many of each nation you're allowed, or each city you're allowed to own, is limited only on your nation's house, and raiding will only happen on the opposing nation. So as we enter Fremvilla, and this is the capital city, which has not been named yet and will be named, you can see that there are certain structures that are mandatory to be in each nation. There will be beds. This is not one that you're allowed to sleep on, but there will be beds to set your spawn point here, as we are 20,000 blocks away from spawn. As we walk into the main city, you can see on the right, there's a marketplace that will be filled. There's a sleeping quarter and areas where you'd be sleeping and sitting your spawn point. There's a bank that's also outside over here, where you would have a bit more extra storage. As you can see in front of you. And I'm going to continue on over back this way. There will be a storage space where there'll be general blocks for the nation to create your cities. There'll also be utilities and different things to help you so that you don't have to make all the different utilities within your city, along with the auction house, which would be a different way of getting special and valuable resources. Within each capital, there's no PvP allowed other than specific designated areas that will be made later on. From the capital, you'll create a path that has to be a minimum of 150 blocks away from the entrance of the capital, in which you would be allowed to begin setting out the markers for different tiered cities. So as we head back over to the ice path, you're not allowed to build anywhere towards the center Z coordinate of 0. And so you would have to expand eastward and northwards in the case of Fremvilla, southwards case of the Badlands. As we run across this path, roads are also neutral, where no PvP is allowed. So you can be assured to explore the different lands without endangering yourself by staying on these roads. When creating a road, you must ensure that it must be at least 2 wide and properly lit up. So this is an example of a road that hasn't been properly lit up. But as we progress, we will begin to light up all the different roads so that you can safely go from city to city. This is especially important before you raid, because as you go to decide on where you would like to raid, you will be allowed to scout out the area from the distance of the road without entering anyone else's land. Furthermore, there are strict rules within the kingdom system to ensure that there's balance and to ensure that rules are kept. The first and most utmost rule is honesty. Any dishonesty will be punished severely, as that would destroy the entire system and cause it not fair for the parties involved. And so, as rules continue to be made, there's an importance to remember to be honest, follow whatever rules are imposed, as they are made for fairness' sake. Now, in terms of for rating, while we have a bit of time here running between the two capital cities, rating will be done in a very structured manner. We'll be making another video to explain how specifically rating will look, but generally you'll begin at the corner of the city. You'll have a time period to set up, prepare, including placing your bed there, so your spawn point will be there. And raiding will be done in a fashion where you have limited amount of time to destroy the enemy's iron golems and wither, depending on the tier of the city. Now, in terms of from the capitals, there would be different price ranges as well, depending on the capital that you're in. And the market will continually be changing depending on the day. And so it is important to make sure you come on every day and see how the market has changed. Furthermore, there'll be secret shops that will probably have items that may not be as easily attainable, and also with different things that are cheaper than in the public markets. So as we enter into the World Tree, which is the capital city of the Badlands, you could see that there is still much to be finished, but the general structure is to go up. As you make your way up, there will be more expansions, more shops and different things that will be developed later on. But as you come up, you will see similar-esque structure. You can see there's a bank over this way, where the people in the nation of the Badlands will be able to store a bit more of their stuff. There's an auction house that's to be made on the side. Come out over here. And there's also a marketplace. And if you head on over to the middle, after you check out the marketplace, there are beds set up on the 4 sides so that you can sleep and say your spawn point here when you're over here, so that if you die, you'd still be safe. There's a bit of chests over here that will become the chest room, chest house, and you can see that over on this corner, there's a smeltery as well. Now, on both sides, there will also be a need for a town hall, and a lot of the details that you need to know would be found here. There's a bit about how to set up and lay out your different cities over on this board, including the size area. And on this board, there's a roadmap as to how your tier 5s will be laid out and set up. And on the side over here, behind, there's also the template as to how to craft the Iron Golem area, which is designated right in front of you. And you have to replicate it block by block within your city. And it has to be done in the amount depending on the city. And so you could come back over to Nation and see how to replicate it. And over here, there's the Wither area that needs to be crafted whenever a city requires a Wither. A big reason as to why these setups are made is for fairness, for ease to help people find where they need to go when they're raiding. And especially for the Wither, so that you don't lose any items during the fight, as Withers can't destroy items, so that's why it's made out of hoppers in the bottom, so that we can have the items retrieved and the raid continue. As we continue to progress, feel free to come on our Discord and ask any questions. But without further ado, I hope you've enjoyed our basic intro into the Two Nations system.